How can someone monetize their passion?
Oh, wow. That's a big question and, and one that I do love because I truly believe everyone has something to monetize. I think the way we are created as humans is to not just connect with each other, but to serve each other. And it needs to be sustainable and to charge monetary gain for what it is that you love to do, I believe is how we are created. I don't believe we are created for a 9 to 5 cubicle or working for someone else's dreams. I truly believe we are created as a human to pursue our own dreams every day. And to monetize your passions is kind of words that I love. My initial program is Passion to Profit because I love seeing that passion and your desires are for a reason. I think everybody has kind of a lean to and what they naturally love, right? Even when you were a kid. I do this one thing called play history, having people look into old photos of when they were a child and what were you doing as play for play? What was it you were doing? If you don't have photos or videos, look at just talk with your family and like inquire or even of course remember your own memories. What did you do that was fun as a kid? And are you doing that today? There should be some alignment and there should be some similarities to what you're doing today, what you did as a child to what you're doing today. And if you're not charging money for it, it sounds funny, right? Like, how do you charge money for play? But I really truly believe we are created with these desires and passions. And those are reasons and guides, big red flags to follow or green flags to follow. And so I just truly believe there's a way to create uh, an offer or a job out of what it is you love to do. And to like, I truly believe you can create your entire life around your desires and your passions. So to monetize it is just a no-brainer. I don't know. I never knew that I was an entrepreneur, to be very honest. When I first started, I have a history of just following the things that I love to do. I started a photography business almost 2 decades ago and ran it for 15 years. And I found photos of when I was a young little girl, maybe 3, 4 years old, with a 110 point and shoot camera in my hand, sitting on the bed. And so I just loved to take pictures as a child. And I didn't plan it, but eventually, I think it was about end of my 20s, early 30s, I started the photography business. And so that just kind of led me into following my heart and my passions. But I never knew I was an entrepreneur, like creating my own way of life and making money and making it sustainable for my life. So I don't know if I'm answering your question exactly how you wanted, but that is, I just truly believe as humans, how we're created, there's opportunity to make money doing what you love. There's living in 2025. I mean, we have endless resources that are free to be able to figure out how to do it. So I just love packaging it together, trying to help other people realize their desires are for a reason and their passions are for a purpose.
Yeah. What a way to start the podcast. Thank you for being on the show,
Yeah.
Johnna, Dr. Johnna.
Yes.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate it. And there's several things that I want to go back into it because
Mm,
it's really interesting the way you phrase it. But for me, one of the ways you you touched the topic about going back into your childhood, like pictures.
mm,
That's a super cool, very creative way to see it. I remember myself when I wanted to dive into a little more into myself and inquire in. I often tell people and people I work with, what are three things that you did as a child that you enjoy? And even if you got in trouble, you still did it. Like regardless if you got in trouble. So for me, the first one,
mm,
when I asked myself back in 2018 was a very crucial year for me. So asking myself a lot of questions. So when I asked myself, what are the things I enjoy? So the first one was, I used to write poetry. So
mm,
that's what I got. I got back into writing spoken word poetry. And then what is the second one? I used to help people. Like I live in Mexico, so the community we have, there wasn't any type of the supermarket. It wasn't any time closed. So you see, moms usually will go to the supermarket and they will come with the handbags like super heavy. So sometimes I will be grounded. Back in the days, there was no television. Back granted, I was in Mexico. There's no television. Very poor. And I used to open the door and I will see moms coming in and there was neighbors. So I'm like, I gotta go and help them. So we'll go and get myself and help them carry their bags. When I got back, I will get grounded even further a little more just because I was helping them. But to me, it didn't matter because I was serving. And
Mm,
that's when I'm anything and everything that I doing, and you had mentioned it to me, it was all about service. It's true. It's coming from my childhood. It has
mm,
nothing to do with. Yes, it has to do now because I'm able to do it and a little uh, more consciously. I'm able to do it. But it's a really interesting way that you bring it. The other part that I want
mm,
to touch is the creative side. We're born with
mhm,
creativity, and the fact that you were able to capture pictures as a kid, I think is super cool. And now that you were able to create a business, 20 years of creating a business, you have an also a non-profit organization that that you
mm.
created.
Yes.
But the other thing that I want to touch is the science behind it, because you have a extremely background when it comes down to science. You have a PhD in psychology. So to be able to touch all those things, many people do not comprehend what
Mm,
is that. And you use a word, you use keywords that to me are very, very interesting. It's
mm,
like, how can someone just monetize their passion? But now you're touching into everybody has some goal. What
mm,
do you mean by everybody has a unique goal with themselves?
mm. Yes, that's my latest program that starts next week called Unveil Your Gold. And I came to this word gold because just throughout the years of my life in different scenarios, I've had a colorful background of not just photography business, but being a therapist and university professor in psychology. I've also worked in nonprofit world. I started a nonprofit. So I've been in different scenes and different industries, but the entrepreneurial spirit within me has always been there since I was very young. And at 46 years old now, I'm proud to say that I'm able to encompass it fully now and really dive in and kind of seeing a bigger picture. And throughout all these different jobs I've had and different scenes, scenarios, even different cultures. I grew up in Malaysia as a missionary kid, so I've been in different variety of scenes and groups of people, and I always called it gold. Like I just saw people have gold that they're carrying around in their pockets. Or if they're a therapist, I would always say, you guys have so much gold just sitting on your desks and not knowing how to get it into the world, like how to create an offer and ask for people to pay you. I know they worked for another organization at the time, but I did. So I actually created a training institute at a nonprofit right at COVID, actually, right around 2020. I saw nonprofit organization. They had several different organizations under them. And they had so much rich information. And then COVID hit, and I was like, we can package all this and make a training institute for other therapists and teachers and parents that are alone right now. Let's put this all together and provide gold to them, all the things that you're skilled in and all your knowledge it's just sitting on your desk, because those are tools for a lot of people that they use in their work, but they don't know how to really put it together and offer it to a unique group of people and in a unique way that really helps them shine in what they're good at. So I just always use the word gold, GOLD, because I just see that we all are born with gold. And sometimes we bury it, we don't believe it, we put it on a shelf for another season in life. And that's okay, right? That's part of being human, and that's part of being going through different times of your life, but it's still gold, even if it's under a bunch of rubble, right? Even if it's dirty and full of dirt, it's still gold. There's still so much value. And I believe that we need to take time to take it off the shelf or take it out of the dirt and clean it up and figure out how to brand it and offer it to the world. So it's just a 3-day challenge I'm doing next week. Actually, it's the first low ticket, so only $27. It's my first time doing something like that for low ticket item, and I'm just excited to see how it will go and who will be there, because it could be a seasoned entrepreneur, a skilled person, to kind of refresh and revive their gold, or it can be someone, an aspiring entrepreneur that really wants to say, okay, how can I take what I love or what my skills, my knowledge, my story, how can I package that in a way that someone wants to solve their problems with and get paid? So,
Yeah.
so that's my background of why I see gold in everyone. I think being a therapist and then being a photographer, I did a lot of weddings and portraits, so I didn't have models and perfect people to photograph. I just had everybody, and I just saw their beauty physically and then emotionally and spiritually at times, the goal that they had as well. And I had to pull that out in a visual sense with images. But yeah, so I just kind of fell into that and just was like, I'm going to run with this for a bit and see how it goes. So yeah, thanks for asking about that.
Yeah, I think this is brilliant though. Congratulations. I'm pretty sure many people is gonna get amazing results. And I want to stick to that just a little more
Mm,
because you mentioned we all have goals.
mm,
However, like you mentioned, there's people that they put them on the side, they put them on the
mm,
shelf, they put it aside. Some of them suppress them when it comes down to
mm-hmm,
trauma and all those, and they just believe that particular story they tell themselves. You having this whole insane background, excuse my
mm,
word if I don't mean to offend you, you have amazing background when it comes down to psychology, to therapy.
mm,
You're able to help them see what they're not able to see. You being able to see creativity and the power in others when it comes down to photography. So I'm trying to connect everything.
mm,
But how can someone find their passion or find their goal or know that they do have goal? They don't even know that they have it. How can somebody find
mm.
that goal inside within them?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question because I think there is a ton of ways. The ones that I recommend are first self-reflection on your own. Dive deep into some thoughts, some journaling, some processing, however that looks for you. Um, and then sometimes we can't ever see our gold or believe it until we work with someone. That could be a coach, that could be a therapist, that could be a mentor, that could be a pastor, right? That could be anybody that you trust, or that you believe is aligned with what you believe and what you're comfortable with, and really dive in deep with that person and get close in trusting them and letting them speak into your life and letting them see. I'm sure even you, Omar, we have been in different scenarios where mentors have spoken into our life that see things that we don't see about ourselves. It could be positive or negative, right? But in the big picture, that gold starts to come up and rise up within us and helps us see what is truth in us. And because I have a background of teaching and being a therapist, I have a lot of tools, like too much probably, of assessments. And now we have AI. So I've created prompts for ChatGPT that asks you that you can copy paste and put in, and ChatGPT will ask you questions and help you find what it is that your passions are. So, and then strengths assessments and personality assessments. I'm a big assessment. I've created one. I just love them because I think they're great tools that kind of give you some data and some output of, oh, this is me. This is how I work within a group, or how I function within a work setting, or how I function, what my strengths are, right? So there's so many different assessments. Those are great tools if someone wants to have a little more hard data. Um, but yeah, the passion to profit prompts, I've created those just because I've had people now that they've seen the program I offer, and they're like, I don't know what my passion is. I've been working this 9 to 5 for 25 years. I don't even remember what I like anymore. And I think that's when you need to slow down and take the Saturday that you've got, or take 5 to 7 p.m., carve out time to self-reflect and to do. And if you don't even know, then just start putting yourself in different environments. Go to a different store you've never been to. Go to a pet store and pet pets. Like, just go in different environments that you don't normally circulate in, and just discover what it is that you like. And I would encourage people to play more, just to schedule time to play and allow yourself, because if you're always on a strict schedule and doing work and not allowing yourself that creative freedom to discover, Einstein even said research is the highest form of play, or play is the highest form of research. So just get out and play more also. So, yeah, I don't know if I answered your question, but yeah, there's a lot of ways to personally and then also professionally meet with other people, mentors, coaches, and get people to speak into your life.
That's very beautiful, though, and I really appreciate the fact that the way you're able to expand, not just on the personal but on the professional, and it's really fascinating to hear you expand in certain ways that you're when you're speaking about it, and you just inviting everybody to be open minded to new ideas and experiences without even mentioning. I don't know if you noticed that. You haven't even mentioned new experience and new ideas, and you're tapping more into just like open yourself into that
Mm.
and the whole entire self reflection and how powerful that can be, whether it is just on your own or you can hire a
Mm-hmm.
therapist, hire a coach, psychologist, whatever you feel like it's going to help you the most. You mentioned a pastor, and that's something that I want to dive into it because you have a nonprofit organization, but this nonprofit organization wasn't just created out of nowhere. You have a whole entire background when it comes down to you live in Malaysia, thanks to your
Mm.
parents. I want to dive into it because just hearing you speaking,
Mm.
the way you speak is very fluent is and it's clear to me that the self-awareness is incredible. At the same time, you are an entrepreneur. You're able to see just the creative side, but you're able to see the goal. You're able to create those opportunities that even though sometimes you see the obstacle, you know the obstacle is there, but you're able to see the other side of the obstacles. And that to me, that's what entrepreneurship is just
Mm.
pure personal growth. And I often tell people, like, some people see the things that they want and some people see the things that prevent them from getting the things that they want. There's two type of different things, and you
Mm-hmm.
always able to see the things that you want and you want to achieve, and that's been installed in you since you
Mm.
were a kid based on the background that you mentioned it to me. And I wanted to type into it, how much do you think, or background, or the community that we grew up, whether it's our parents or the community, is making an impact in the life that we're creating as an adult?
So you're asking, how did my background contribute to what I'm doing
To
today?
what are you
And
doing today?
yeah, I realize that I have been given a unique life, and I'm blessed with a lot of people that encourage me and love me, pray for me. And honestly, I didn't realize it until I got married. It'll be 3 years this June. Um, and my husband is from Vero Beach, Florida, and he has a family and sibling and aunts, uncles. And but when I started to realize his life, I'd post something on Facebook, and I would get, I don't have a huge following, but I'd get a couple hundred likes or something when I would mention I found someone, I'm getting married. And I just started realizing how much my background it's been in different parts of the world, and how many people truly know me and love me. And that just really instilled, uh, when you're loved, you love a child, the confidence is through the roof, right? They know no fear. And that's been something that was a gift to me as I've now I didn't have a perfect childhood, right? Like I've got some brokenness back there, but a lot of brokenness, but I've just been blessed with a bunch of people from literally worldwide, all over the world. And I didn't realize that because my husband was like, "Whoa, how do you know all these people?" And I was like, "Well, this is when I grew up in Malaysia, or this is when I lived in Texas, or this is when I lived in Hawaii." And I just realized I'm just really blessed. And it really does matter who's in your life. And if you don't have that, it's never too late. You can be 80, 90 years old, and it's still every day we need people to speak into our lives. And I'm more of an introvert, so I am not out there running around with groups of people every day. But I have a big, and I called it to my husband. I said, we have an army of love that loves. I'm actually getting a little emotional, which is surprising. But he got cancer last year, and we were barely 2 years into our marriage, and we met and married 1 year later. So it was like really quickly too, that we met and then decided to marry right away. I'm like, what the heck? I'm in my 40s. Let's go. And then he got rectal cancer, and then just all this army of love, these people started coming out of the woodworks, and we've raised like $16,000 for his medical bills all last year. And it just is an example to me that make those relationships, make those connections, not just for business and for work, like, because, oh, you're going to make more money when you network, but it's for your own heart, your own mind, your own peace, to let people speak into your life. Because, then we went through a challenging time, and my husband experienced that love, that army of love that I called it on our wedding day. I called it that. And then sure enough, that army rises up when you have a difficult time in your life. And praise God, he's got cancer free now. He had his colonoscopy yesterday, and we got the final news. We got the final news. Well, the first news of cancer free in December, and then we got another his 3 month checkup yesterday, and so we're excited to hear the good news. But just to have that support of people, it really is priceless. And so, yes, all that to say, my background of not just being a missionary kid and watching my parents serve people, watching my parents love on people to help them change and have a better life in a different country, that was a big message to me that I uh, recognize that I want to serve people, but I also realize I need to be sustainable and value who I am and what I can offer. And then having that monetary value, not, if I don't charge that to someone for my skills and what it is that I can offer them, I'm I'm robbing them from, and I know Omar El Takori has mentioned this before, I'm robbing them of that opportunity to value their transformation that can happen. And so it's taken some time for me to realize that in my 20 years of entrepreneurialism, but it's very important to value yourself so others can value you as well. But so all that to say, those stories that yes, your background can be very pivotal, but you can also start now if you didn't have a background that supports what it is you want to do. It starts with you and what it is you want to create.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening to that. I went down a rabbit trail there,
No,
but thank you.
no, no, I appreciate it. And thank you for sharing the story. I'm really happy to hear the news about your husband. Congratulations. It's really amazing news. And Army on Love. I'm telling you, you're
Hmm.
coming out with these little concepts that I'm like, where is this coming from? And I love that about you. It is just the fact that you're able to create something that it feels unique for you.
Hmm.
And for the first time, I hear you mention the word service. And since day one, I'm like, you're all about service. I know you mentioned to me I'm about service. I'm like, Yeah, I've used the
Oh
word
yeah.
service,
I
but
honestly, another word has come to me for you, Omar. Servant, servanthood leadership. Being a servant is a leader.
yeah,
And so on your own spare time, maybe you've already researched, but start learning about servanthood leadership, because that is you through and through, 100%. And
thank
I
you.
don't know you for very long at all. So, but
Oh,
yeah,
thank you.
that is a powerful leader. And I think that's the only type of leader that can make change, not just impact, like the not just to a lot of people, but the depth of impact that can make is when
Thank
a
you.
leader serves. Yeah. So I wanted to say that before I forgot.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate it. And it's an honor. Yeah, I do love leadership. And since we touch on that topic of leadership, uh, I want to dive this with you because
Hmm.
you comprehend. You obviously 3 years ago you start taking service, and you start feeling more, in a way, grateful for all the things that you have experienced in your life over, based on certain things that has happened in your life recently. But for me, the person that comes up to leadership is Simon Sinek. Back in 2014,
Hmm.
I read his book. 2 weeks after reading his book, I quit my job from sales and went into personal training. That's how much impact Simon Sinek created. And ever since, I decided to study him. So
Hmm.
all these things is thanks to him. So when it comes down to leadership, I always tell people, I'm like, I used to be a really horrible manager. I'm like really horrible. When I started studying Simon Sinek, and when I say studying, I do mean study, watching every single interview, every single thing that he did, every book that he has written until now. I
Hmm.
read it. When it comes down to it, the last one is the Infinite Mindset, which it blew my mind. I'm like, oh, the Infinite Mindset, that sounds a very powerful way to put the leadership, because it's never ending. But for me, and for you, when it comes down to leadership, you're an incredible leader just because you were a teacher, you're a professor, and you've been doing this for quite some time. You run in a non-profit organization. So when it comes down to leadership, what has been the most powerful tools that has helped you become a better leader?
Hmm. That's a good question. Um, Honestly, I think, we think of, I truly believe servanthood leadership is number one way to prevail and to grow, but also serving yourself in a deep way, to recognize that you're important and your healing matters. Your ability to lead people, you can only lead them to places you've been, in your mind, in your heart, in your emotions. Of course, in business, we sign up for programs when we see, oh, they can make 100 grand in a day. They can make this, like, that's important too, recognizing that they've got those business skills. But honestly, I've always been more interested in the the for lack of better words, is mental health of the leader, how they're doing in their like, when all cameras are off, how are they doing sitting in a room by themselves? Like, how are they really, are they at peace? Are they feeling accomplished in their life? Are they giving back to others? But you have to serve yourself to be able to have that peace to serve others. You can't give what you don't have. You can't deliver what you don't have inside of you. Um, so yeah, I never really thought about that question about what is it to be like a number one thing of being a leader, but that would be something I would say, because in my personal life, that's been very important to me, to heal and to be at peace and to have good relationships with friends and family. And that from that, everything else is birthed for me. All my ideas of business and nonprofits and the job that I've taken and who I've worked for, and how I work for myself now, all of that is literally birthed from the choices I've made and how I take care of myself in the relationships that I have. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Thank you
So
so
yeah,
much.
so you are important as a leader. Um, all of you who are listening to this, you are important. You really matter, and you're probably the most important. Just like you've seen the analogy of if you're on an airplane to put the mask on yourself first before the child, because you want to be around, right? You want to be able to breathe to put it on the child.
Yeah.
So yeah, take care of yourself.
Yeah. It's very powerful though. It's a very unique way to phrase it, and you definitely touch the the depth of
Mm,
leadership. Because we often think just leadership is it's something that we just do it in a job,
mm,
and you practice leadership every day. You open the door for somebody else. That's leadership. You're willing to sacrifice your well-being yourself for the well-being of others. That's
mm,
what, if you will ask me, what would be like for me, leadership is sacrificing myself for the well-being of others. However, in order for me to do that, I had to be strong, as strong as I can be, so
mm,
I can, be able to go and deal with whatever I need to deal with in order for me to take care of the other people. So it's really unique way for you to put it, and I
mm,
love the fact that you mentioned too how mental health is important for leaders. I really think that not many people takes that into consideration. We love the role of leadership, but nobody wants to go through the ins and outs, the ups and downs that leadership goes. You mentioned too, like, how are you doing things when you're by yourself? I
mm,
tell people too, like, when you're by yourself, that's who you are. Pay attention that when you're really by yourself, what are you doing? Like, what you really doing in that particular moment, that's who you are. If you don't like that person, do something, because eventually it's going to show up one way or another.
mm,
It's going to show up, right? Now I want to dive into a on that particular topic. I want to dive into your nonprofit a little bit,
mm,
because obviously that goes into the leadership. But when it comes down to it, what is the what would be tools that you can provide to people that wants to create a nonprofit? What are the few things that they need to know and they have to take into consideration when they want to create a nonprofit? We understand that they want to serve. There's no
mm,
questions about that. When you're creating a nonprofit, you understand that there's a nonprofit. The name itself
mm,
says you are willing to serve. However, a lot of us just going into just like entrepreneurship. Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, but once they inside, it's just like nothing is working. I'm like, I don't want to be an entrepreneur anymore, right? Well, I've got to go in a different direction. However, you being an entrepreneur, you've been
mm.
running an entrepreneurship, a nonprofit organization for quite a few, more than a decade. What would be a few things that people has to know, or would be really cool if they knew before they start a
Mm.
nonprofit?
Yeah, good question. And when I started my initial program, Passion to Profit, in with the mindset of creating a business or a nonprofit, because profit doesn't to me always mean money. Of course we need that, but it also is impact, what kind of impact we can make on people. So the Passion to Profit program is if you want to start a business or a nonprofit, because I've done both. And interestingly, I started a nonprofit first, so I don't recommend that. I recommend having a sustainable business of your own, or working for someone, or however you want to, because entrepreneurial life isn't for everyone, but maybe a nonprofit idea is for you. And maybe you've got a steady job with somebody else and you're content with that. So the people that come to me that have questions about nonprofit, I see are big hearted people, and they care mostly about making that impact to the people group that they want to help, or animals, or right, pets or something. But I recommend you have stability first because you can get so wrapped up in fundraising and trying to get grants. And while all that's really important, it's not always sustainable. So I also recommend starting a business or working for your, honestly, starting your, because I'm an entrepreneur, I can't hardly see otherwise, but starting a business, and then that nonprofit can get proceeds from your business. So if you gain those business skills, then you can make more money for the nonprofit. So it's a little bit smarter of a way. And I didn't start that way, but I recommend being your own boss first, and then diving into your heart's desire and passion of helping others, or whoever, whatever your nonprofit idea is. My nonprofit was called Star Shooter Phototherapy for Kids, and I would use photography as a tool for expression, so a therapeutic tool for their, and I would go to like after school programs, or I used it in therapy sessions. I'd also teach therapists how to use photography as a tool in therapy, with the HIPAA laws and privacy acts, and having it, you can't really do digital because that's how do you record all that, and then some kids were involved in child pornography or something, or I don't know if I can say those words, but so there was a lot of background you had to understand as well when you're getting into imagery in a therapeutic way with children. So it's a whole nother thing, but I was super passionate about helping kids express. If they can't use their words, let's use images, maybe even old photographs, or creating new images. And we can even use magazines, right? Like things you can cut out if they didn't have access to a camera. I've even been to Bangladesh and put disposable cameras in the hands of children in villages. That was super cool, just to see how they see. So that was a big passion of mine. It still is. But I also have a big desire to empower others for them to create their dreams. I feel like I can make more of an impact in a larger way if I can equip more people to go, and I just feel like the world can be better if I can equip other people to go activate their passions. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, so that would be my first suggestion is have a steady income, and if you don't have that, create a business, because if you start a nonprofit, you're an entrepreneur already if you're wanting to go down that road. Um, but it's so rewarding and gratifying. But if you create a business that can make a lot of money and fuel your nonprofit, that's a beautiful thing,
Yeah.
and a tax write off.
There you go. That's the other benefit. I'm glad you mentioned that. So that's very powerful, though, and many people understand. That's what I said. Like everybody wants to just
Mm.
create certain things, but I'm glad you mentioned the a lot of the what it comes down to money, right? Well, the profits. Like how are you going to sustain even your own business, right? It goes the same. You want to be an entrepreneur. You want to create your business. You have to have something sustainable. Many people just going to become an entrepreneur, quit their job, and there's nothing to sustain
Mm-mm.
their entrepreneurship, and they're like, oh, I got to go back into ground zero, which is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you're able to be prepared yourself, this question came out to me while you were speaking.
Mm.
It is clear to me that you're able to tap into your creative side for like nobody's business. I never seen someone be able to tap
Oh wow.
into their creative side. How in the freaking world you able to create, like to tap into your creative
Mm.
side just like that? What is your thought process though?
Well, it's interesting because I put down the camera, like as far as as a career, about 2 years ago, but some photo shoots trickle in here and there. But I dissolved the LLC last year, so I don't primarily have. So my primary way of making money is not creating imagery like I used to. Like a, so I don't feel as creative, but in my brain, the creativity is now like thinking about the world we're living in, and with AI, and there's just like there's it's multidimensional on how we can create now. So I just, even today I was thinking like, Johnna, you need to slow down and not, because I'm in these AI like masterminds and courses that I was like, that's not, I'm not an AI instructor right now. but I love it so much, and I think it's a powerful tool. So I can kind of go down a rabbit hole of learning, because my my I actually just launched a Facebook ad last night for the Unveil Your Gold program. 100% AI. It's a video of me, but I created it in AI. So that's a form of creativity. So creativity, I believe we all have, just as we all have gold, we all have passions and desires. I believe we're all meant to create. We're created to create, and that just will look different for every person. Um, I think how to keep that tap open and on is giving, again, it comes back down to taking care of yourself and giving that yourself space, physically and mentally and emotionally space. So that means you have to remove maybe relationships or devices that are distracting, or YouTube or whatever. You've got to create that space so that creativity can flow. And when you make space, that's when revelation can come for you to a next project or next offer or next whatever it is you create, and however you create. You got to give yourself time and space. And sometimes emotions will put a lid on all of that. So you got to, that's why I keep going back to take care of yourself emotionally, mentally, and physically.
Yeah. It is insanely fascinating for me to hear you speak about creativity. And we know, and obviously you know, that creativity and happiness correlate.
Mm.
They enhance each other. They go hand to hand. Someone that is happy, their creativity is able to spark. The fact that you're able to spark your creativity out of nowhere,
Mm.
then to me it's clear that you're very curious.
Mm.
You're a very curious person. You see something and you're just very curious. Me, I sometimes my curiosity gets me into trouble. Sometimes it gets me into paths, right? Like you mentioned, like on these rabbit holes. Not very. Obviously, I do have ADHD too. That probably helps too. I I believe for me, my ADHD is a superpower. I've always seen it as a superpower. So it's something that sometimes it gets me into trouble. Hey, it's okay. But for me, I learned just like you mentioned
Mm.
the the importance of me creating a space.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the location has energy. Like, for example,
Mm-hmm.
this place that I created, the minute that I sit down, there's some type of energy. And I have mentioned it to you. I just, once I get in this space, this
Mm-hmm.
energy is just, and the more I start communicating with you or the guests, there's something about it that I have,
Mm.
I'm not able to even explain it. It's hard for me
Mm.
to explain. I just feel it. And I just don't question it. I just accept it. Being able to create those spaces and give myself spaces, like
Mm-hmm.
being able to restrain myself from other things, because obviously I get attracted really easily with other things. So for me, like, for example, another thing that I have in this particular space is like in front of me, there's a blank wall. And the reason
Mm-hmm.
why it's blank is because there's nothing that attracts my attention, other than I'm just here with you and then I'm being able to fully be present. It's honestly, it's really fascinating to hear all these things, and it's the background that you have is just incredible. And that curiosity, it is insane to me. The reason why is because even with all your background, the curiosity within you is just like it is mind blowing. It is just crazy. And now you have another super powerful tool, which is AI. And you're like, you start playing just like a little kid. You were like a little kid. You were always just very curious. And sometimes it got you into
Mm.
trouble. Obviously, you got grounded and things like that. But you were able just always like that as a kid.
I like that you brought up as a kid, because when you started talking, I want to remind the audience that you don't have to teach a kid to create anything, right? You just give them space, or you give them toys, or you give them playground time, or you give them time. The only thing children know to do is to create. And so if you're not able to create as an adult, do a play history, kind of an inventory. Like, what did you do as a kid, and maybe what is blocking you from playing in that manner. Even if you don't feel to play, I just encourage you to schedule it. And whatever that looks like, it could be a walk, it could be go to the pet store. um, but yeah, you've got to create that space for yourself. And if it's not physical space, maybe you already have an office or you have a place that you can go and think about what to create, but it might need to be in your mind or your heart, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, play like a child and the creation will come.
I love that though. Now, I want to go back into the beginning of the conversation with one of your programs because I think it's
Hmm.
really powerful. What can people expect from that program, the the gold program that you
Yes,
have?
the Unveil Your Gold is a 3-day challenge. I've actually never done a live 3-day challenge. And I first was thinking to just have it recorded and people can do it on their own. But now I'm starting to think it's probably going to be an interactive and something that I help you with, not just give you the tools and say, go find your gold, unveil it, but might be a process where I help you. So that's why I really encourage people to come to this live. But I am, because it's the first time of this particular program, I'm excited to see how it's going to work out. But my idea is to help you unveil it, to get in touch with it, and to take ownership of it. I have an acronym that I created, and I don't have it memorized fully yet, but GOLD, ground in your greatness. This is a good test for me. Own it. So the O is ownership. L is leverage what you have right now. Use what you have. You don't have to go learn something else or get a certificate or go get a degree. You just leverage what you have right now. And then the D in gold is to design the offer. Design how it is you're going to take your gold and deliver it to the world with a price tag. Um, so that's I'm in the middle of building the curriculum, but that's my idea now, to help you unveil your gold, line it up with what people will pay for right now, and how to make it an irresistible offer. And you hear all these things, but when it comes down to it, sometimes you work so hard at trying to cookie cutter what you have learned from Russell Brunson or like all these people, and you got to like, oh yeah, this is how you do it. This is what needs to be happening. But what I've learned in the past couple of years of a consulting business and coaching people is it's easier. If it's too hard, it's probably not the right way. It's not the right offer. There needs to be an ease, and you need to sink into it, and it needs to flow, because if it's your gold, it's not going to be difficult to translate, to articulate to people, and to give it and to sell it. So it should be full of ease when it's that. And honestly, two I've been doing this for 2 years, and I've learned just the consulting and coaching and creating offers, and I think that's what I want to bring now is the things that I've learned and what I've realized it's not. Because it's truly about just finding your gold and define what that is to the world and put a price tag on it. And it should be super ease, like full of ease. And I had a specific coach, Shaheen is her name. She's still active, very active. Um, and I had some one-on-one sessions with her a couple of months. And it was through that process that I realized that I would get emotional talking about the nonprofit I had and wanting to empower other people to follow their passions. And I was like, that's it. Passion to profit. So it just changed the full trajectory of how I help people. And ever since then, it's just been easy. Like there's so much ease in that gold. And you're just, when you're sitting on your gold, you don't really see it or know how to give it away. So I had to have someone show that to me. And then I'm like, oh, the thing that's close to my heart that I know inside and out that I could talk about forever, that really is it, that I can really offer that. And so that's what I want to try to do in 3 days, and deliver that, to at least give somebody that guideline so they can really unravel that on their own and have that transformation.
Yeah.
So yeah, so thanks for listening to that long explanation, but I'm excited.
No, thank you for expanding. I really love that. I love the fact that you are able to create something. And what stands out to me is the fact that you're able to create something that it has to be, it has to put you on ease. When it's too complicated, sometimes
Hmm.
we think that we had to create something complicated, something
Hmm.
obviously is unique and just complicated. And me personally, what I learned when I make things complicated for others, people get overwhelmed. And when
Hmm.
people gets overwhelmed, they don't take the number one thing they're gonna take away from this particular thing, and they're gonna need, and it's very powerful. It's action.
Hmm.
I always say people like I can teach you and help you from point A to point B, but there's only one thing that's going to stop you. It's not me. It might be just yourself, but the only thing is action. If you don't take
Hmm.
action, it's just nothing is going to happen. Nothing is going to move. So how can I move the needle to take action? What do you need to do? And with the background, I'm just really looking forward to the people that was going to take your content, um, because the extremely background that you have, it is it is it is just like no brainer to be able to go into, and the fact that you make it super affordable for everybody. I just think it's very unique. But this has been extremely fascinating to me, and thank you so much for coming into the show. Thank you for taking the opportunity. Just come and just show up a little bit your skills it, and a little bit being so open when it comes down to your background. But before I let you go, I want to give you the opportunity to share something that I haven't been able to share, or haven't even been able to ask you. This is the chance that you have to. Even if you want to, any websites that you have, everything is going to be on the notes, obviously. But anything that you want to share with us, like this is your
Oh, thank you,
chance.
Omar. Well, you've been the best host because I feel like I've laid it all out on the table for everybody. So you've asked a lot of great questions and given me the opportunity. And yeah, I've shared with you kind of like what's going on next week with Unveil Your Gold. So it literally the doors are open to everyone. I know you need to have an ideal client, but it's just I want people that are hungry to figure out how to make money doing what they love. Like just the simplicity of figuring that out. And it may be something on the side, or it may be something you go all in your whole life changes. Whatever level you're ready for, it's ready for you. And so, but yeah, you've been a great host. Thanks for all the great questions. And this has been really fun. It's been a pleasure. So thank you.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And me personally, I'm super excited for all the things that you're creating. Thank you for. I'm glad and really grateful for Omar El Takori for helping us to connect.
Mm-hmm.
That's the power of create having a community, and I'm just really shocked. Not so many people have snapped you. It's just mind blowing to me all the knowledge that you, uh, the amount of knowledge that you have, and honestly, the questions that I have is just out of curiosity because I'm like, wait a second, I always tell people like there's one thing that I cannot teach people, and that's passion. And you honestly breathe passion,
Mm,
like anything that you're doing, and I'm not shocked all the success you have, and obviously with the career you created, and how everything is connected, and you're very creative, and just that curiosity because you play so many roles. And I want to emphasize the passion is not just one thing; it can be many things. You are a
absolutely.
great proof to that. Not just with your
Mm,
photography, with the nonprofit, with all the things that you're creating now, helping entrepreneurs find their goals and just make profit out of it, and just how can they
mm.
shine in a way. I think it's just very unique. So I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being in the show, and looking forward to continue to connect.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll see you next time.